I Dream of Jeannie was one of the most groundbreaking, beloved, and commercially successful series to hit the airwaves. Despite the fact the show was incredibly successful in syndication, it also had its fair share of problems. Most notable was the one specific scene that the two leads assumed was responsible for its inevitable cancellation. Keep watching to find out about what this scene was. Borrowing from another Bewitching series. In 1964, ABC released a sitcom from a fairly captivating premise. It involved a regular blue-blooded American man who lived an unassuming life in the suburbs, who has his life turned upside down by a magical woman who lacked a proper understanding of cultural norms. That series, Bewitched, seemed to be onto something, and audiences responded enthusiastically. NBC, hoping to cash in on the success of that show, approached esteemed writer and producer Sidney Sheldon and asked him to write a show with a similar premise that might compete with it. From Bewitched to a brass bottle. Sidney Sheldon knew his new series would need to incorporate some kind of supernatural gimmick, but he wasn't sure what that element would be at first. The same year Bewitched went on the air, a fantasy comedy movie called The Brass Bottle hit theaters. In that film, an architect named Harold Ventimore accidentally released a centuries-old genie from a bottle. After being let out of his metallic prison, the genie tried to please his new master, only to cause a great deal of trouble for him due to his lack of knowledge of social cues and how the modern world functions. Sound familiar? In that movie, the genie was a male, but Sidney Sheldon knew if he tweaked the dynamic just a bit by making her female, it would make the perfect premise for a quirky sitcom. Finding the right actress. It didn't take Sheldon long to conjure up a pilot script for his new Jeannie series. After finishing his script in a whirlwind writing session, he began looking for the right leading actress. He had a distinct vision for what sort of actress he was looking for. For one thing, he knew he wanted a specific kind of acting style and tone for the character. He wanted her to be both flirty and a bit naive at the same time. Also, he wanted to do his best to avoid audiences and critics comparing his show to Bewitched, so he decided the actress needed to not be blonde. But lo and behold, when he stumbled upon Barbara Eden and realized she was perfect for the part, he had to make at least one concession, because she was about as blonde as they come. As Jeannie, Barbara Eden shined in her role. She stuck with the series for all 5 seasons and 139 episodes. And for 8 episodes, she sported a brunette wig and portrayed Jeannie's evil twin sister, who was somewhat confusingly also named Jeannie. For another 2 episodes, she also played Jeannie's pitiable mother. Casting Jeannie's counterpart. While it's undeniable that much of I Dream of Jeannie's appeal was due to Eden's incredible fish-out-of-water portrayal of the show's titular character, her portrayal wouldn't have been nearly as spectacular without her male counterpart, NASA astronaut Major Anthony Nelson, played by Larry Hagman. But even though his character was somewhat of a square, Hagman was anything but that. Larry was well known at the time for eagerly embracing the counterculture of the 60s. He was all about sex and rock and roll and had a tendency to drink quite a bit in his leisure time. His drink of choice was bourbon, and it's said that he would sometimes start his morning off by pouring a few shots into his cereal. And whenever he was on set, he could be found with a glass of bubbly in his hand. While he was a bit of a party animal, Hagman's portrayal of Tony Nelson was almost equally vital to the success of the show. But even though he played the role flawlessly, he was evidently pretty confused by his character's on-screen behavior. He couldn't understand why Tony would turn down Jeannie's constant advances. Even so, Hagman was able to portray Tony so well that even years after the show hit the air, audiences still buy into his and Eden's dynamic. This video is brought to you by Magic Spoon. Cereal was a breakfast and snack time staple as a kid, but I had to give it up because of all the sugar. With 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving, Magic Spoon has allowed me to enjoy a piece of my childhood again with their healthy cereal options. Plus, there's only 140 calories per serving. No matter your health goals, you need to try Magic Spoon as a low-carb, high-protein, and 0 grams of sugar alternative. Click the link below to get some Magic Spoon cereal today to help you accomplish your health goals in the new year. Grab a variety pack and let us know what your favorite flavor is. Mine is the frosted. And be sure to use promo code FAXVERSE at checkout to get $5 off any order. Or go to magicspoon.com/FaxVerse. The scene that cast and crew believe killed the series. One reason audiences couldn't get enough of I Dream of Jeannie was the tension and irresistible chemistry between the show's leads. The would they or wouldn't they dynamic was what gave the show legs. People loved tuning in every week to see if Tony would ever let his guard down, put his career aside for just a moment, and finally give in to Jeannie's feminine wiles. In the 5th season, however, Tony and Jeannie finally walked down the aisle in the 11th episode, thus ending years of sexual tension built up between them. While the network brass thought they were giving audiences what they were pining for, in reality, they had just killed the vibe that made the show so great. Barbara Eden especially hated the plotline, citing a lack of accuracy. She told the Today Show in 2015 it ruined the show. She went on to explain her thoughts on the matter in a bit more depth by reminding us Jeannie wasn't human, even though she thought she was. Tony knew full well what she was, so by taking her to the altar like that, Eden thought it broke the show's credibility. Not surprisingly, I Dream of Jeannie was canceled at the end of the season. The ratings plummeted after the two main characters exchanged vows. Hagman had fully expected this, though, so when he was finally given the news of the cancellation by a security guard on the studio lot, he wasn't particularly shocked. Eden and Hagman weren't the only ones who had been opposed to Tony and Jeannie tying the knot. When NBC exec Mort Werner came up with the idea that the two characters got married, Sidney Sheldon fought the idea tooth and nail. He told Mort the idea would be the death of the show, and told him it would gut the fun out of the series. But even though the cast and crew of I Dream of Jeannie fought to keep the characters from getting married, the network bigwigs wouldn't back down. And just like that, the series that fans had become so attached to in the previous 5 years had all of its life sucked out of it. Barbara Eden's career post-Jeannie. After I Dream of Jeannie got the axe in 1970, Eden went on to star in a pilot for a series called The Barbara Eden Show. Likewise, she appeared in another pilot that never ended up going anywhere for a show called The Toy Game. She appeared in her first TV movie, The Feminist and the Fuzz, in 1971, and that same year she appeared alongside co-star Larry Hagman in the TV film A Howling in the Woods. From there, she starred in several other comedy and family-friendly productions, including 1978's Harper Valley PTA and 1984's Chattanooga Choo Choo. She also continued to appear in highly rated TV films well into the 90s. Eden has also headlined several major resorts and casinos on stage and has put her singing abilities to work by releasing several albums. During the First Persian Gulf War, she traveled to the Middle East with Bob Hope to perform for the troops. Eden has also embarked on numerous national tours, performing in musicals such as The Sound of Music and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Always a lover of the theater, she's appeared in stage productions such as Wild Pacific and Night Confidential. In 2011, Eden published her memoir, Jeannie Out of the Bottle, which debuted at number 14 on the New York Times bestseller list. Today, Barbara Eden lives with her architect and real estate developer husband, John Eichholz, in Beverly Hills. Now it's time to hear from you. Did I Dream of Jeannie make a mistake when they came up with the idea of Jeannie and Tony getting married? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to FaxVerse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.